Welcome back. Back. Memory leak. My name is Geron. Your name is what?
Goofy Goober.
All right. So, we're talking about shit today. 1 week from today, we'll have our 1 week from tomorrow, since recording this. What the fuck?
1 week from tomorrow.
We'll have our goddamn Nintendo Games.
But as of the time people are listening to this, it might be the same day.
It might be the same day. We might be having it right now. But look.
Good start.
Hold on. But look. It's gonna be cool, all right? It's gonna be
Nintendo is a greedy evil company.
Corporate entity making luxury products that we all are supposed to have.
We don't need to rehash that one. We talked about that one.
I know. I didn't want to talk about that. That's not what the point was.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I keep seeing it.
Yeah,
I keep seeing it. It's like
whatever.
There was a thing about how like Disney's evil, but Nintendo's just corporate evil. I'm just like,
I don't think y'all understand.
It's such a fucking eye roll for me.
This shit is. I mean, I know you're corpo scum, so.
Here's the thing. It completely neutralizes what the word evil even means. It's like completely lost meaning. It's now just a thing I don't really like or it inconveniences me.
Inconvenience is now evil to me, yeah. Whereas there's actual evil where people
crazy. Like, there are evil corporations.
That are
there is evil in the world.
Real resources away from people that need them, but a video game company is almost kind of unable to be that kind of evil. My old boss works for Nestle and he's worked there for a few years. Oh yeah, I know, yeah.
And I'm like, it was during the pandemic he got the job, and I'm just like, could I do like in the world of uncertainty where like I don't know if I can get another job, would I accept a job at Nestle or would I like allow my family to go hungry?
Yeah.
But now it's been 5 years. I'm sure he could have gotten another job. It's like, I don't know. I don't think I could contribute my labor to Nestle
to that. Like that who are actually taking food and water out of people's mouths, literally. Yeah. But look.
Welcome to Memory Leak.
We're talking about Bideo Wagos. I'm discovering that as I approach 30 redacted, I am more prone
30XX.
Yeah, 30XX. 30X.
That's how many years old you are.
I'm more prone and sensitive to sugar, which is really bad. So
what do you mean prone and sensitive? I'm
more prone to be sensitive to sugar. Like, damn, I feel
like
this
you get twitchy.
This shit sucks.
What do you mean? Like inflamed?
Like ew. Like drinking soda with sugar in it.
This doesn't have sugar.
I know.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like I had a couple of Sprites and shit. I'm like, ew.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel. I don't feel good after
syrupy.
that. Yeah.
It's thick.
Like it makes me want to go to sleep. My head hurts. Maybe I've got an appointment that I need to make soon. But
with the pearly gates?
No, dumb bitch. But at least my urine doesn't smell like sugar, so I don't think there's anything wrong with me.
Do you smell your urine?
Huh? I mean, you smell it when you piss.
I don't.
I
look up.
I look up,
and I just hope I get it in.
I look up and hope.
It's the epitome of spray and pray.
I let the Lord aim for me. That's why the toilet's fucking yellow. Fucking nasty.
That's why I just got fired.
Yeah, but look, some N-word on the internet. His name goes by Shroud. I don't know what fucking game he plays.
Shrewd.
Yeah, Shrewd made a point that a lot of games are having the friction removed from them, and I was listening to some other people make the point about that, and I actually completely agree with that. Just as a short, but to sum it up,
I don't think it's just games either. Exactly,
it's not just games. But to sum it up, something about video games is when you start shaving off when you start sanding down the edges.
Yeah,
you start to sand down the novelty and the fun.
Right.
And when you do that, you create something that those people themselves, without any influence from me, obviously, started calling them. They're just products now. And I'm like, they're just things to be consumed to some people. And like there isn't anything inherently wrong with that, but it does kind of dilute what you would think of as being an interactive medium, where you put something in, you get something back, and there's like consequences for not consequences like, oh, we're gonna fucking come to your house and kill you, but like consequences that mean that you need to start over, or that you're not owed a victory in these fucking games. And I think I think that line of thinking makes a lot of sense.
I think there's a lot of reasons for it.
Yeah.
I think, again, you think about what games have been in the past and what they are more leaning into now.
Yeah.
I think games were squarely sort of like thought of as almost like interactive puzzles.
Yeah.
Like I think of the fucking like the ball games where you had like a little marble and you had to navigate the little maze, and if you fuck it up, it starts over.
Yeah. Holy shit, there's video games with that exact thing.
Exactly. And I think that sort of design mentality informed game design.
Yeah.
For like, I mean, even just the concept of game design, right? I think all of that has kind of like had the same foundation for, probably 80s, 90s, 2000s.
Yeah.
Part of the 2010s, and I'm sure there's, video game companies that adhere to that type of philosophy these days. But I think in the probably mid to late 2000s, as we got into like the PS3 360 era, it started to become more of like the interactive movie type of influence, where it becomes more of entertainment and a medium to consume entertainment rather than like something to practice or something to like figure out.
Right. Yeah. To figure out.
The figuring out. Yeah. The whole puzzle like foundation is now been replaced with sort of like that movie foundation. It becomes a much more passive experience, something to just happen to you rather than for you to provide your input.
Something that happens in front of you rather than you being, part of it. Granted, a lot of these games still have you involved in them. That's not to say that they're not interactive in any way.
And,
but I do think
I think a big part of it came down to two things come to mind immediately. One is like what people think of when they think of next gen and what you can do with that.
Yeah.
Because I think the whole puzzle concept was kind of all you could do with games with a limited graphic set, sort of like thinking of imagination thriving through restriction and things of that nature.
And that's the kind of thing that even kind of pushed it to being more of a kid's thing at the time.
Yeah.
So like
with more graphics, I think actually ironically brought more limitations in terms of what you could do on the game and the input side. It's like these models are now so complex, so detailed. It's like you can't really do whatever you want with them.
Shit with them because then it becomes uncanny.
Not even just uncanny, but it's like we don't have the technical chops to take Nathan Drake and have him interact with any individual thing that we care about. It's like you got to limit the scope, you got to limit the focus, and it's if you're investing all of your time into like motion capture and realism and like all of the movie elements of it, then it doesn't leave as much time or creativity for sort of like the gameness of it.
And if like anything, let's say you have a lot of detailed animations and actions that go through, and then something just kind of brings up a text box. For most people, that's not a big deal, but for some people, all those little detailed interactions and one of them just being limited to a text box takes them right the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
Whereas if all of your interactions are with text boxes, it's consistent. So your brain fills in the gaps, no problem. Like you don't even have to think about it. You read what the fucking RPG, the 16-bit RPG tells you is going on, and you're like, oh, that's what's going on. That's how I see it.
Yep.
And you're not like worried about how much more detail they can show you. Granted, at the time, people were fully concerned about how much detail they could start adding to the visual presentation. I think a lot of people's motivation, people's motivation for buying new hardware and a lot of people's motivation for making new games was to approach that movie-like presentation because that seemed to be what was the most exciting to people at the time. I mean, you get like Metal Gear and shit like that. And like
Metal Gear is like, we riz up fucking Hideo Kojima a lot.
Sure.
I would say for good reason. But like Metal Gear, I think did try to find that line. Like he's always he always wanted to be a movie director.
Right. Yeah.
Snatcher, and so on and so forth. He was always chasing that sort of like that kind of story mentality and kind of like the vibes of it all.
Yeah.
But I think Metal Gear did some really interesting stuff with the gameplay and like the whole figuring it out thing. Every level in MGS 1, 2, 3, and to a degree 4 feel like puzzle boxes. Like each room, it's like there's a few different paths you can go in. Some of them are just going to fuck you up badly. You're discouraged from taking certain routes, right? It's all kind of built into it. So it's a decent blend, humor and emotion. It's a decent, it's a decent blend of like game truth, like actual game design and sort of that movie presentation later.
And I think that that as an example is a really good one, because that is where people complain about those games having too many cutscenes, and then when they don't have cutscenes, people complain they don't have enough cutscenes. It's just like those games have a lot going on in the gameplay.
Yeah.
If you're distracted by the fact that there's so many cutscenes, you are missing the fact that a lot of the detail is in the little interactions you have with the environment and with the enemies and with some of the other characters.
Which is frankly how I feel about The Last of Us 2. A lot too. No one ever talks about the gameplay shit.
Yeah.
There's a ton of gameplay shit that like MGS2, like the button sensitivity, like nothing really like button sensitivity specifically, but just all these little interactions that are just details that like if you replay the game and you try different things, you start to notice like, oh shit, that's really cool. Really cool how certain things interact with other things. You know, the gameplay systems come to life. And
it's hard to describe that to like laymen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't like using the fucking term normies. I hate that fucking term. So
I would just say people that are not intellectually curious about their games.
Yeah, exactly. For real though, people that are not
they want to experience
about
the story. Like they want to experience what most people experience and not spend too much time on it.
Yeah, they want to see the big points without understanding that sometimes the big points are the little ones. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like those little details are the things that add up.
Yeah.
And this big story is almost kind of a parody of things that it's inspired by.
It's like when people complain about Breath of the Wild not having enough story.
Yeah, when the story is like before you, it's in your face.
The story is the game
itself. It's you walking into a grassy field, a bokoblin throwing a rock at you or some shit, and you throwing a spear that broke and all that kind of stuff. That's an emergent narrative that comes out of it. And then the memories that the game has in there, like Tears of the Kingdom is a similar thing too. Those are just to give you kind of context of where you are at that moment.
Right.
But everything that happens during that game, except for the very beginning, some of the stuff in the middle and the very end, are controlled by you. You know? And that's for some people that's probably too much to ask for them to think of it that way, because they're more concerned with being fed their entertainment after they've worked or after they've done some difficult thing during the day, which I also get.
Completely fine, yeah.
But I also, I'm starting to understand that video games aren't really the medium to engage in if that's what you're trying, if you're trying to wind down exclusively. There's some games you can do that with, of course. But in general, when I think of playing a game, I'm like, I need to have energy for it.
Right.
So it's like, if I have a day where I don't have anything to do, then that's my time to delve into something like that. And then that's where I get the most out of it, because I have the energy to focus on it, the energy to engage with it, and the energy to remember what I did. And I'm not like trying to rush from point to point because I'm tired. You know what I mean? I'm tired of it. But I
think that's a perfect segue into my other point, which is the other reason why this has evolved this direction is market capture.
Yeah.
The market has grown and expanded, and they want to capture it's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's those evil corporate greedy pigs.
Well, they have investors to please and shit. So it's like,
and I mean, even if it's not investors to please, even if you're private like Valve, like you are still a business, right? Like you still want to make money so that you can pay the people to do their dream job and make good things.
Continue to make things. Yeah. Like the only way this is enabled is by
that's how it
having
works.
the money to do it.
It's just how the process works. And I think in order to support that, it inherently is like we want to be as accessible to as most people as possible.
Yeah, right.
And that's happened a number of different ways, whether it's through enhanced accessibility options, whether it's through, direction of the gameplay and how we've kind of evolved and standards and all that stuff. But yeah, I think there's still very much a spectrum that has broadened significantly. Whereas before it was really just kind of like puzzle, figure it out, learn the game, to now that being one end of the spectrum, the other just being like truly passive movie game, cozy game, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I mean, you can see some of that game design, like the idea of that kind of game design being catered to with like the game, not game streaming, but the game subscription services.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like, you have access to so many games. You don't buy any of them individually, but at least try something.
Yeah,
maybe you catch on to one, but in the end, you've paid them. Even though it doesn't make them as much money as people buying games individually, but how many people are... They want you to buy a lot of games.
Right.
I don't know how many people are buying a lot of games, but I know people are buying enough games.
Yeah.
You know? So and the subscription covers the rest of it.
I mean, you see that too with, again, like other movies, other mediums,
Yeah.
books, comic books, whatever, right? Like just the new Lilo and Stitch comes to mind, where the new Lilo and Stitch made
Yeah.
more than the original Lilo and Stitch,
which is unbelievable.
and
but
it's like a
more
completely
people.
different story. I haven't seen the
Yeah.
movie. I can't really comment. The things I've seen give me grave concern and
Yeah,
pause.
that's exactly how I feel about it. I'm like,
I'm not going to pay money to go see that.
Yeah, I'm
but
not
like,
either.
there's a lot of commentary about like, are we really just like allowing parents and children to just be fed like live action remake slop of lower quality,
like shittier versions,
Yeah.
with important shit removed.
Yeah,
It's
and
like-
it's a perfect sort of metaphor, I think, for just like the nature of entertainment media,
Yeah,
which is like, again, mass market appeal, mass capture, make as much money as you can, minimum amount of effort, as passively as you can make
Mhm.
it, as just like wide appeal. And like that's the downside of this evolution for sure.
yeah,
That's not to say there aren't good movies coming out.
yeah.
though,
That isn't
right?
to say
It's
there
the
aren't
same
good
thing with
movies.
video
There
games.
aren't. There's
There's a
not
lot
to
of
say there's
good
not-
shit coming
There's
out.
a ton of good stuff. There's just a ton of stuff.
Yeah, there's just a ton
So
of stuff.
you have to weed it out.
Yeah, and
You
it's
have to
more
find what you like.
competitive.
Yeah,
Right. So what was the word? I think somebody summed it up nicely when they were like the continued infantilization of media.
yeah,
And I think that applies exactly to what we're talking about games
Yeah.
being more passive.
yeah.
I think it applies to just the fact that games are being played by more adults than ever.
Yeah.
You know, movies like
Right.
live action Lilo and Stitch and shit.
Yeah, we're at the point where adults have spent their entire lives with video games.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it all sums itself up
Yeah.
into why we are where we are.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say, just because I'm thinking about it, two different things actually. So on like the Lilo and Stitch thing, the live action remakes and everything, a lot of people for some reason, need the thing to be shiny and new. Whereas I think that movie could have just been dropped as it is.
I think a
into
lot of
theaters
people feel
again,
that way.
and people would go see it.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
I wish they could have just re-released a lot of these.
Just re-release it
animated
and
movies.
call it a remaster. You don't even need to remaster it.
Yeah,
just
you don't
call
even
it
need to
remaster.
You don't need to tell anyone what you did to it. You can just say, "Oh, this grass is re-inked a little bit." Like it's not even. It's
Yeah.
not. But some of these movies still hold up just fine on a screen, especially for kids
Yeah.
that have never seen it before. Why try to undo that original movie for maybe not undo, but why try to redo that original movie when
I do find it weird because it's like you spent a lot of money in this. Like,
Yeah.
is it a play to get people like, is it a job creator? Like, is that part of the angle?
maybe.
Maybe part of the write-offs? I don't know.
Maybe it has something to do with maintaining the IP rights or some shit. Like
It could.
the copyright and all. I don't know. Like you use it or lose it kind of thing. But
I mean, it did make money. Like,
yeah,
it was
made
very
money.
profitable.
That's
which
what I'm
is
saying.
crazy.
So they know what they're doing with that from a from a money making standpoint, from a profitability standpoint. But goddamn, I wish
I just wish they had used the AI to recreate.
Okay, I'm leaving. No, fucking ass.
Fucking kidding, idiots.
But on the other side of the coin, you see a lot of people always complaining about there not being anything like the old stuff was better.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't think people understand how powerful their child
nostalgia.
their
nostalgia
child
is such
minds
a fucking drug, dude.
at holding on to that shit.
It's such a drug.
Like,
it's crazy.
Like it's just not going to be the way the way you connected with something is just never. It shouldn't have to be like that eternally. Like I'm going to bring this up because you already know who, like the kind of people I'm thinking of. I've probably mentioned it before. The Zelda games. It's like
the new games versus the old games.
The way you attach to those old games is one way. You shouldn't be begging to have that over and over. And I get wanting to see a game like that again. Don't get me wrong, but you've been offered something new and different. It's up to you to decide to take it or leave it. But if you leave it, just leave it. Like, just let it be. It's time to find something else because nothing.
We gotta make our voice heard. Nintendo needs to know what we want as fans.
Oh, fuck. But see, like, nothing's ever gonna hit the same way as it did when you were a kid. Ever. Never, ever. The best.
And frankly, people said the same shit when those games were released.
Yeah, about
every time a new 3D Zelda game was like, This is trash.
Yeah, it's not
Wind
it's the
Waker's a
past,
kiddie game.
Yeah, it's like
Twilight Princess is ugly.
the shit happens
I mean, it is
with
kinda ugly,
everything. Twilight Princess is ugly for a lot of reasons, but I think there's a lot of people that want media to stagnate a bit, but don't understand that that's what they're asking for.
Yeah.
So whenever they see anything new, they're instantly comparing it to the way they felt when they were a kid, rather than understanding that they will just never feel like that again and trying to experience it from a different angle or perspective. Speaking of a kid, we're about to lose the life of a fly. Oh, that went into your face and now it's over there. But yeah, no. And those same people tend to be the same ones that are like most illiterate when it comes to media, But oh, nice. That's not to roast people too hard. It's obviously natural to want to have something comfortable, and depending on how your life's going, maybe you want those things that remind you of being a kid again. But it's also easier than ever to access those old things as they were.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is going to be very pro-natalist of me.
Sure.
But now that I have a child, I realize a big benefit of having a child is you get to do that.
Yeah.
In a real way.
Yeah.
You get to live vicariously through the eyes of a child that's seeing some shit for the first time.
Yeah.
Even if it's not the same shit that you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually came to this realization with my brother's kid before I even had a kid, with Astrobot.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like Astrobot to me, as somebody that like grew up with all the Japan Studios IPs and like all sorts of 3D fucking platformers, like was like nothing crazy, right?
Yeah.
It had a nice presentation. It had a lot of cool references. Yeah. But to somebody that was like a 5-year-old child who like had never really seen
shit like this before.
Yeah, maybe seen a Mario game, right? But like feeling the DualSense, like going through it, it's like completely mind blowing.
Yeah, that's just like an attack on the not attack, but that's just like a strike on the senses, especially when you don't have neural connections.
Just fucking lighting up. Like
it's just like, oh shit, this does this does that. I'm
that's cool.
It.
It's cool to be able to experience that through somebody that like you're related to by blood. Like that's what these motherfuckers need to be focusing on. Start a
family if you really want it. But I do understand that. I think there's value in recognizing that the shit that you see is giving the feelings that you had when you were a kid to new kids. Like there are kids now that are feeling that for these things. Now, sometimes what they're taking in probably is a certain variety of slop, but who the fuck didn't consume some kind of shit when they were kids?
All the shitty ass fucking movie games that we got as kids.
Shitty ass movie games. Think of all the shitty Flash games we played. Think of all the shitty Flash videos we watched, if you know what I mean.
I mean, people rag on Skibbity like, oh, the kids are fucked. The kids are cooked.
The
generation is cooked. It's like, man, Skibbity Toilet has a degree of like cinematic prestige to it that we never got with early Gary's Mod.
Yeah,
like, this is another level. Like I'm proud of these kids.
Like I think
of like this shit. Like I'm glad that this is the kind of thing that they gravitate towards and make super popular.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is funny and like unique and weird. It's like a weird thing that like their generation, and like there's nothing nefarious or bad.
In
like
general,
it's not some like white supremacist neo-Nazi shit.
Yeah.
It's just like this crazy fucking
crazy thing.
Psychotic,
it's just a
little kid random thing.
It's just a sensory thing.
Yeah.
And freaking like I think it's drivel, but that's just my opinion of it.
I know, that's fine.
That's fine.
I can understand it.
I
get the acclaim.
Like Ultimate Showdown. There's people that still can recite all that shit.
What is Ultimate Showdown?
This is the Ultimate Showdown.
I have no fucking clue what that
Thank you. But there's some people that can still recite that, and it's the same kind of shit. It's just it's just a song about a bunch of shit. And thinking Chuck Norris is cool. That shit. That's drivel.
Badger.
Yeah. It's from the same pit of despair as that. Yeah. Fucking mushroom and watching that for 900 hours. Yeah. YouTube poop, all that kind of shit. Poop. Though I love YouTube. Poop. Some YouTube poop is a lot of it's unwatchable. But like Fesh Pence, I can't believe those existed. That's some crazy shit. Those are long and they're packed with stuff going on. I cannot believe those are allowed to exist. But those I'll never forget that shit. And there was a third one, which was all right. Like It was pretty good. It was just references to the original too.
Yeah,
but
I like the Bob Sponge ones.
Yeah,
sex and murder segment.
Fucking Jesus Christ! But see, that's definitely dating ourselves.
I don't think that shit's on YouTube anymore. I'm pretty sure it was
which ones?
DMCA.
Which ones?
The Bob Sponge shit.
That wouldn't surprise me if that shit were nukes in some way. Someone has it, but like someone has everything. But look,
I do worry about the AI shit. We talked about it last time.
We did.
I worry about that for the kids.
Yeah, I do. I think they're not, just because they're kids, they're not discerning enough to be able to.
I worry about the like companion shit.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, you don't need friends. You just talk to AI.
Talk to this AI wench. And
I could see that shit getting like weirdly addicting chemically.
Yeah.
And just like doing some fucked up shit to them.
Well, I could see,
and especially with games like Roblox, if they start doing like the AI Darth Vader, but like they build that into people in the game that they're not just like talking to, and like that's their friend group.
Yeah. Like, oh, I need to get online so I can talk to Rayquan, but it's spelled W.
Raygun.
Fucking Raygun. Whatever, you know what I mean. I do think the AI shit is a fucking mess. I don't even remember how we got here, because I started with
kids,
the friction shit.
Friction. Shroud.
Yeah. And just rounding it back to that, I do think that I would like, and I fully understand this is after I talked about Sekiro the way I did. But I do think games need more fucked up mechanics in them.
Yeah.
I think just giving you a map, giving you twin stick control, giving you the same button configurations that every other game has is a disservice to some games. It homogenizes them and it turns them into something that isn't like, y'all know how I feel about Killer 7, but that game makes you press the A button to walk forward and B to turn around. You do a bunch of weird shit in that, and that's part of the game. Like Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, the pressure sensitivity, that's important.
You say this and you turn around and be like, thank God they're adding button remapping to N64 Online.
That's because not everybody has a fucking N64 controller.
I'm completely kidding. It's not the same thing at all.
But actually, though, I think the people that do complain about the N64 controller in a bird brain way, it's like, you need 3 hands, are just like willingly not trying to solve the puzzle in front of them.
Right.
They're just like, oh, what? It's not immediately catered to my sensibilities? It must be shit. Yeah. Right, guys? Right. Kind of thing. Whereas they're, and then you put Ocarina of Time in their hands and they're like, oh, I like this. It's ugly, but I like this. So, like, yeah, just interact with shit. There are bad controllers out there. I'm not going to name them right now because people are going to kill me. Dreamcast controller. But
Dreamcast controller?
Yeah.
Why don't you like it?
How do I?
Is it the ergonomics of it?
The ergonomics are bad. The triggers. So you see this, how my index fingers are up here. When I pull the triggers, they're not actually both like past my thumbs.
Yeah, they're tall.
On the Dreamcast, you go past your thumbs.
Oh, interesting.
When you pull the trigger, so your hands are like this.
They're tighter.
This is uncomfortable. The handles don't wing out like this. They're actually straight. So you're like this, and then they're like this, and you're like this. Is what it feels like. And then the cable comes from the bottom.
Yeah.
ABXY, those are fine. D-pad, analog stick is made out of plastic. The analog stick is made out of hard plastic. The N64 stick was made out of hard plastic too. Don't get me wrong. I think hard plastic analog sticks, bad idea.
Yeah, always.
Horrible idea. But on the Dreamcast, the edges are sharp. And the little pips on top are very the pips on top are pretty sharp too if the controller is relatively taken care of. But they also wear down in a way that looks so ugly and so like it becomes so slippery.
Yeah.
It's just not, the controller doesn't have any longevity. The only benefit is that those sticks are Hall effect. And that's like insane that they use Hall effect sticks on that.
Funny.
But those controllers are just not very. Like another thing, you already know how I feel about these modern, like the PlayStation D-pad on the
membrane.
It's not it's a membrane too, but it's this this bridge in the middle of it. It makes it feel like the D-pad is just harder to use for me. I feel like I have to press the buttons harder no matter what.
which I think the way people at the point in time where PS5 came out, the way people are designing games, D-pad isn't really used that much.
Sure, but the Vita D-pad exists.
Right.
And the PS4 D-pad is like this. The PS1 D-pad is like this. They're all like this, and I think they're all not very good.
Right, but at this point, I think it's probably a cost thing.
Maybe.
And B, people are using the stick more than they're using the D-pad. Like,
True.
the D-pad is like almost an ancillary auxiliary menu now, rather than like a core like button mechanic.
Yeah. Though they do still have the like the D-pad in the home position of your thumb on the controller, you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Like
it's just not how it's used in games.
Yeah.
Like there's so few. I can't even name a modern game that uses the D-pad outside of a secondary menu.
Cuphead.
Sure. But even then, Cuphead is more intended for a control stick than it is D-pad.
Is it? I don't think that's
I
true.
would say it is. Just the way that the directional movement works in that game, it feels like the way that you're supposed to use your thumbs in that game, it feels more intended to be for like control stick than D-pad, in my opinion.
Okay, I don't know about that. I think
I've played it with D-pad, Android, and stick on Switch, Steam Deck, PC,
with the Stadia controller.
Right? Like every time I go back to the control stick, even though it's a 2D platformer, kind of in shoot 'em up style.
That's interesting because like fucking,
it just feels harder to play when you're doing D-pad. You have to move your thumb too much.
I'll have to give it a.
Like that game. That game is like literally an exercise in conserving your hand energy.
Yeah.
Because it's so intense, and you're pressing with all of your fingers. You're pressing buttons
something
like the whole time. The dash, the two different
switching your weapons.
Yeah, switching your weapons. The two different guns.
Setting up
the fucking secondary jumping, and it's a chaotic game. And so when you're like fucking around with the D-pad, it's just way easier to have your thumb on one thing with the controller that you can subtly move left and right. This is my experience.
Yeah.
Maybe a hot take. I don't know.
No, it's not a hot take. Can I take this off?
What is it?
The black part?
Why would you take that off?
Just to see it. It's not going to hurt anything. What is it upsetting you so much?
I just don't know why you're doing this.
Can I do it?
Do whatever you want to do. Does that wrap up everything we got to say about that? Short one today.
Yeah,
join us next week for Switch 2 early impressions.
Yes.
If you like this shit, give us a like, comment, subscribe.
Yes.
Send us an email at memoryleakepodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and YouTube.
Yes.
Until next time, I'm going to switch to another console.
What?
I'm going to switch to the PS5 Pro.
No, you're not.
I am. I'm going to sell my pre-order and get the PS5 Pro.
Are you actually going to do that?
No.
Why? You should do that. Why wouldn't you do that?
I'm a liar.
Why wouldn't you do that, dude?
Later.